Well, it is 5:30, maybe a couple minutes after. So maybe it's time to call the meeting to order. And we can start going down our list of events, including the things there are none of, which includes a public hearing. We have none of those. We're not going to handle any appointments tonight. Review of minutes. The minutes of February 18th. So this is for the board members now. Are there any comments on the minutes?
So I sent to Beth a couple of comments this morning, and I haven't had a chance to look at them, Betsy.
Yeah, I made those changes.
Okay, so is that the new packet? I didn't print.
You know what? I can't remember, Fran. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's in the new packet. And give me a sec.
Well, I tell you what, if folks have not had a chance to take a look at them, we can just postpone that for a month, I think. Are you more comfortable doing that, Fran?
It was just two quick changes. Here they are.
All right.
Yep. Give me a sec. I was just trying to manage our participants, everybody. So bear with us.
Yep. Okay, so
it was on the
tobacco. I think you just went by it. On the page above. It's not on the screen right now.
Like this is the page I made the two. I think I made the two changes to.
Well, one had to do with the tobacco, the revolving account.
Okay, hold on. Let me just go back. It's on the previous page.
Correct. That's correct. So it says, just make this smaller. I can't read actually. Just move it down a tiny bit. This I'll move to amend the previous motion to include. Can you do? There we go. Okay, I got it. To include any funds from violations to also fund tobacco education. Okay, and there was one other thing that we changed that had to do with.
Yep, with our the critical staff infrastructure tabletop exercise. I made that change.
Right. So focus. So if you can move that down a little bit for me, move it down a little bit, I can see what. A little bit more. I don't know how to get rid of these pictures. Okay.
Yep. You can actually. So Fran, on your upper.
Yep. I just did it.
Okay. Cool.
To critical staff and first responders during influenza pandemic. Okay, got it. And look, at next meeting is scheduled for March 17th.
That actually should make an amendment because that was then that meeting was canceled and rescheduled for April 2nd.
So you can put that addendum in.
I can make that amendment if you make your motion to include that.
Oh, I make a motion that we include an amendment that this meeting was canceled. March 17th meeting was canceled and the meeting is now April 2nd, 2020.
Okay, is there any objection? I don't think there should be any. So we'll say everybody in favor of that amendment, say aye.
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 Opposed? It carries. So is there a motion now to approve as amended?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February, what is the date on there? February 18th minutes of the Board of Health meeting.
All right. Is there a second?
I second it.
And in the absence of further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. All right. So we're done that piece of our business. I think at this stage, if we can go back to the agenda, let's see.
Mhm.
The agenda has some things on it that we're not going to talk about right now because we have some folks who really want to be, I think, part of the conversation on some items that are a little further down. And I think number one on that in relationship to COVID-19 should be the conversation around, do we want to be posting on our website the information that we receive on the number of people who have tested positive for the virus in town and the number of people who are under quarantine in town. No identities, simply numbers. This is information that the board has been receiving, and I know there's some interest in the community that that information be distributed. So let us discuss that possibility, okay? Are there any people with opinions on the topic?
I do. I have an opinion. This is Alyssa. Hi.
Hello, Alyssa.
Hi.
Hi, for those of you who don't know, Alyssa is our public health nurse. So she's with the Walpole Area Visiting Nurse Association.
Okay, so DPH recommends that the counties report the numbers. I agree with their stance on this. I think if we say, and this community has, 3 cases, that's only 3 documented cases. There are individuals that are deemed presumptive positive all over the community by their providers, and we have no information on those individuals. And I think at this point, if we say there's, X amount of cases in the town, it kind of gives people the false sense of security, like it won't happen here. I had a situation the other day where I went to investigate a nursing home, and I said, okay, this is what's going wrong with your infection protocols, and the woman point blank said to me, oh, well, this isn't New York. Take a look at the cases in the town. And that's my concern. I think that we really need to push to the community that they need to stay home, and social distancing and staying home is what needs to be done right now. And if they want to see the statistics, they can look on the DPH website for the county.
So Alyssa, your concern is, well, one piece of it might be the underreporting perhaps, because we're only talking about confirmed cases, which means not just that they tested positive, but then that positive determination has been confirmed by the CDC. Is that part of your concern?
No, actually, so right now, anybody who tests positive is considered a confirmed case. So we're having people obtain tests, at private facilities, and then they'll go to like Quest Diagnostic or LabCorp. If that comes back positive, that's a confirmed positive case. And my concern is with this testing algorithm, there's not enough tests, and individuals will call their providers with a clinical presentation, and the providers will just say, you're most likely have COVID, but you need to stay home. Just stay home. And I've heard this time and time again.
And those are not part of any reporting process.
Exactly. So
Well,
sometimes when I'm doing a case investigation, if somebody did test positive, I have to do the contact investigation, and I find out, oh, my husband, he had, X, Y, and Z symptoms, but the provider said, just stay home. And the only reason why, in most cases, somebody was able to obtain a test is because they have different comorbidities that would warrant that.
Mm-hmm.
so, could I just jump in for a second? Are you done, Alyssa? Yeah?
Oh yeah, sure, Fred.
It's hard
Go
to
ahead,
know.
Fran.
You can't see someone's face if they're want to continue talking. But anyway, so just to clarify, on the DPH website, it says, this is what it says on the DPH website. In order to protect privacy and confidentiality of individuals who test positive for COVID-19, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health only shares positive case numbers and deaths by county on COVID-19 cases, quarantine, and monitoring. The decision to share case count by community is the responsibility of a city or town. DPH recommends that local boards of health respect the privacy and confidentiality of residents when providing such case counts. So DPH is leaving that decision up to the towns. And I have been asked by numerous residents, so how many positive cases do we have, confirmed cases do we have in Norfolk? By not identifying that we have positive cases, I'm not saying yes or no right now, it's giving in my opinion, it's giving it's giving individuals a false sense of security. And my opinion is that information is power. If you tell people that there are cases, they will be more vigilant. If you won't give people that information, they might just say, oh, it's safe to live here. So that's my 2 cents on. And my opinion is that we should post, if there are positive cases in Norfolk, that we would post them on the website.
Mm-hmm. Eileen, do you want to add to that?
You know, I don't have an opinion either way. I mean, I can see why you don't want to freak people out or start looking at your neighbors sideways, but I certainly understand Fran's point of view as well. Hard for me to say. So that's my equivocal opinion at this moment in time.
All right.
I would probably let Alyssa, as the public health nurse, maybe. I'd probably follow her lead just because that's what she does.
Well, Alyssa, can I ask you a question in response to what Fran just said? You were concerned about the underreporting process at some level, giving people a false sense of security. And now Fran has brought up the absence of any information, providing another false sense of security. And how do we, wrestle with these opposing forces here?
It's a really good question. I think, I think I looking at the statistics right now, if I was, John Smith down the street and had really no knowledge of, I kind of understood what was going on, but then I said, oh, there's only X amount of cases here. Okay, it's not, we don't have like 80 cases, we don't have 100 cases. That's what my concern is.
Mm-hmm.
But I also see where Fran is coming from, and I feel like if we just say to the community, we do have documented cases, we urge you to remain vigilant and continue social distancing and stay home. That's kind of my take on that right now. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how do you feel? I'm working with other communities as well, and it's kind of across the board. Everybody is making their own decisions.
That's safe.
Yeah.
What's the majority of the communities doing, do you think?
All right. If we can continue our previous conversation, we were sharing opinions on this topic of should we post the latest information about number of positive tests for COVID-19 in town and number of people who are quarantined in town. And hello again, Alyssa. So now we have differences of opinion on the table. If we can, I'll just complete the Board of Health side of it, and then we can talk or ask for other opinions as well, since we have a select person as well as our town CEO is with us as well. So my feeling is, and I'm lining up a little bit with Fran on this one, what we need to do if we're going to post these things is to simply put a caveat that these are, I won't say tip of the iceberg, we're not going to use that, but these are indications of the level of activity in the town. They, if anything, represent the number of people who in fact have been infected, and the number of people certainly in town who are self-quarantining that we don't know about. So this is just information that we do have, and take it for what it's worth as a part of the total picture. What do you think, Alyssa? Would that be an okay way to present this information without being totally obscure and say, we're not going to tell you?
Oh, no. I completely agree. I think that people are anxious, and with you, like you said, sorry, touch my face, without having the knowledge, it just hypes their anxiety up even more. So I think, if we preface it by saying, this is a glimpse of what's going on. There are presumptive positives in the community, or most likely presumptive positives in the community. We recommend that everybody continues to stay home and social distance. Flatten the curve.
Okay, I think putting the information in context like that, I think, gives the right message.
Would you want the statistics twice a week? That's what I do in my other communities, or I do it on Mondays and Thursdays. And I haven't sent, Betsy, you the information today because I just haven't had a chance.
That's okay.
That seems reasonable. I mean, we're talking about small numbers. Let's hope we continue to talk about small numbers. So Kevin, do you have anything you would like to add to this conversation?
Sure, thank you. I mean, I probably don't get as many calls as you all do, but I have gotten a couple of inquiries and pokes related to, I just saw Millis's newspaper posted how many they have. How come we haven't done that? I just saw that Walpole is talking about how many they have. Why won't we do it? Is there something that you're hiding? Is there something going on? Oh my God. So you want to try to get to a point where you can be transparent with people while not, like Alyssa had alluded to, create a sense of, fake security or something where people would feel a little bit more, comfortable with going outside and not adhering to everything as strictly as they should be. At the end of the day, I feel like we should be able to put these numbers out there and let people know that this is real, this is here. We're not New York City, nor is anybody outside of the Boston metropolis area. But this is something that we need to take very seriously. And I think this would assist in doing that as opposed to hinder our ability to do that.
Thanks, Kevin. Blythe, would you like to add to this?
Sure, just making sure I'm unmuted here. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be a rule follower, and someone says don't do something, I tend to go with that. But I have gotten less than 5 requests from people called up saying, hey, can you tell us? So I think if it's couched appropriately, like we've been talking about, that people still need to be vigilant, I think it would be fine. I want to support whatever the board's comfortable with.
Other thoughts before, I guess, we take a vote on this?
I agree that, having a comment that this is, we hope that you'll continue to maintain social distancing, et cetera. That's very important to just putting a number up. Guidance as well.
Okay. Any else?
Guys, that's a question.
Yeah. Is there a question?
The question just is on if we're going to go ahead with reporting. I just want to be clear. Is that something that you guys will handle with the Board of Health? Do you want to coordinate it through our office? I just want to be clear about how we're going to do it going forward.
I think the board is in a pretty good position to be, getting the information in a timely way and posting it.
Great. I just want to make sure I'm on board understanding it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I just comment, it's often difficult, you know, if it's not, I like the fact that you have a comment, like right at the top of the page, a banner at the top of the page, explaining to people where to go, and this is your, you know, you give it some guidance for a week. I don't see any problem with those numbers, if there are numbers to be placed there with a, you know, a statement, suggesting to people, again, the social distancing, et cetera. But when it's buried in the website, it's difficult. And then people are still going to be calling us and asking us, well, where's the information? So my opinion would be to put it up with the banner that's on the top of the page. That's my opinion.
Is it, which page we talking about, Fran?
The town site. So right at the top of the town site, there's a yellow banner, correct? That with some guidance from Blythe with her updates that she's been giving each week. Although I don't think I saw one this week, right?
There was one, we chose to do a call. The days all run together after a while. I think we did one on the 31st, I think. Yes.
Okay. So, but there is that banner at the top of the page on the website. Is that correct?
Correct, and that's something that you guys can post on that as well. You know, as we get deeper into this, I haven't been posting quite as often because there hasn't been as much new information. I kind of waited till there was something different to talk about, like the governor extending the stay-at-home advisory or the transfer station, you know, changing direction on recyclables. But we could get to a, say, Monday and Thursday posting, which could simply, you know, could be as simple as just the number of cases and the advice.
Right. But that would be at the top of the town website as opposed to buried into the Board of Health piece of the website, is what I'm suggesting.
Sure. Yep. Betsy and I can work together on that.
How does the rest of the board? Eileen, is that okay with you in terms of the prominent
Sure.
featuring of this information?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard for me to say whether it makes people feel better or worse or be more vigilant or do the same as they were planning on doing. I don't have a problem with posting the numbers. I just thought that following the directives potentially of the State Department of Public Health would be most appropriate, but I certainly am not against it if we want to do it.
But we are following the directive. They're saying each community should do what they think is appropriate for their community.
Okay,
That's what they're saying.
okay.
I think we're dealing with the native curiosity of our townsfolk who do want to know, especially since apparently our neighboring towns are providing this information. The fact that we're not is probably creating more questions and therefore more alternative answers than the real ones. So I'm compelled, I think, to do this.
Sounds good.
So is there, I guess there is a motion from Fran to post.
I make a motion that we post the number of positive cases for the town of Norfolk on the town of Norfolk website, and that a good location for it would be on the banner at the top of the website page.
And the number of quarantines as well?
So isolated confirmed cases,
Just that.
right. Quarantine could be, I went to New York, I went to Brooklyn, and I should quarantine myself for 14 days. You know, you just don't know, but confirmed cases is what is reported on the DPH website for the different counties. Is that correct, Alyssa? Am I correct? Yeah. Those folks are in isolation.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Is there further discussion? The assumption being that there will be this contextual information surrounding the numbers to
Correct.
hit the right balance
Yep.
of the incompleteness, shall we say, of them.
There's,
Um,
excuse me, there's just been some chatting going on in the background. So Eric Diamond had a comment and said the Sun Chronicle had a very misleading article a week or so ago stating that Norfolk had 0 so far. And then Alyssa also commented, should we report the total county totals? So those were, one was a statement, one was a question.
What is the question?
How about the county total?
So the question from Alyssa was, should we report the total county totals?
Well, that's available on the DPH website right now. People just have to go to Mass DPH/Corona, and it says cases of COVID-19 per county.
Yes, should we perhaps put the link to that on the town website along with the total number of positive cases?
Well,
Would
that's,
that be
the
helpful?
link is there. That's what is already there that Blythe
Okay.
has put. I mean, you want to put it again, that's fine, but people wouldn't have to read Blythe's whole statement.
Well, I'm thinking actually having both pieces of information there does provide a context of sorts. And it's also, besides one-stop shopping, it may be something which actually draws a few more people to the website. They can not only see what's going on here, they can see what the whole county's up to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like the idea, actually, of having both numbers. So with that in mind, is there how many folks are in favor of this modified motion?
Aye.
Say aye.
I'm in favor. Aye. Yep.
Aye. And opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So, Fran, would you be willing to work with Blythe to organize the wording on this?
Sure.
Okay, appreciate that. And if you can pass it around with everybody else if you'd like to before it
Okay.
goes up for the first time.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that was one item that I wanted to have other folks around to talk about a little bit. On our list, I'm back to not having an agenda in front of me again, but that's all right. Don't necessarily post it. I think we're going to skip over, for now anyway, the conversations around the new version of our sanitary regs for the town. I don't think Wade is still with us, is he? Oh, here's Wade. You are still with us.
Sure.
I
Sure.
gotta tell you right now, I gotta confess, I did not do my homework. And so if it's okay with you, Wade,
Well,
we talk about that next time, unless somebody else has something they really want to say right now about our new sanitary codes. No. All right.
well, I'm sorry. Just, Wade, can you just explain one more time? We don't want to explain anything
Sure.
tonight. About I guess this is getting into the whole thing. If you haven't had a chance, Tom, then we should do it the next time.
Yeah, that's more of a working group kind of a effort than, having Blythe and Kevin here. I would like to talk for a little bit about this communication we had from the Norfolk County Mosquito Control Project, because this is a more of a town-wide issue. Yeah, there's public health associated with it, but at the same time, there's also, I guess some would argue, a quality of life issue, at least that some of our residents take fairly seriously, about being able to walk outside in the middle of May and not being consumed by mosquitoes. And we have this question that came to us asking whether the Board of Health would prefer the normal spray program for the larviciding that takes place in the early spring in Norfolk, basically hitting the wetland areas in the town. Or would we prefer to only focus on the largest bodies of water, the largest wetland areas, or would we prefer no spraying at all? So that information came to us, and I guess it has been circulated to some other places in town as well, from what Blythe said. Kevin, have you seen a letter like this from the Norfolk County Mosquito Control Project?
Just the letter that Blythe forwarded over today was the first time I had seen something
All
of
right.
that nature.
All right. I know the selectmen had not had a chance to talk about it because of that. The issue, let's talk about this first of all at the Board of Health level, which is a public health kind of an issue. And then maybe we can talk about it in a more general sense for the population in town. Keeping in mind that this is already basically a service that we've essentially paid for or will pay for because it's simply money that we're not going to be getting back from the state. It's something which is being diverted to the Norfolk County project. Beyond the prepaid nature of this, this is a larviciding operation. Over the years, it's evolved into something that uses a biocontrol as opposed to a chemical control agent to prevent the development of the larvae into full-fledged adults that are flying around biting people. And it's something that's been going on for some time. It is not a public health issue in that the real concerns that I think we have as a town surrounding EEE, West Nile, those are late summer, early fall problems that we deal with in town. And that's a different population of mosquitoes. They aren't the ones that are basically taking wing in the next few weeks. It's another even species of mosquito that comes along later in the summer. So the public health issues here are rather on the small side if it weren't for the fact that right now the kids are home and the kids are outside in their backyards and they're playing, and they're likely to be playing in the next few weeks when in some parts of town there are going to be helicopters flying around with a spray system running that's putting this larvicide into the wetland areas that in some cases are going to be bordering on backyards. So with this unusual context, are there any concerns on the part of any of the members of the board about the larviciding process as it normally happens, whether we think there should be some restrictions on it happening this year, and should we, if anything, try to bring in other agencies besides just the Board of Health? Because this is more than just a Board of Health issue, I think. So, members of the board, you got the note. Nobody else did. What is your opinion? Let's start with Eileen.
I don't like spraying. I find that I don't like putting that type of product into the environment. I think that impacts so much more than we don't understand or realize, whether it's things that eat mosquito larvae or what other organisms is it affecting. I have a real problem with the spraying. I don't even like seeing the lawn signs for Mosquito Mary or, you know, whatever else those different companies do. I don't think that they're appropriate. I've kept bees for, you know, over a decade. You know, is some of that impacting the bees and the other pollinators that we have? So I'm an anti-spray person.
So your preference would be no spray?
My preference would be no spray.
Fran?
Well, it looks like that is an option for the spring spraying. And we could, but is that going to change next year? I mean, we've agreed to this process. I'm myself, like Eileen, you know, I just assumed we didn't have any spraying at all. But having said that, at a minimum, I would go with option number 2 to reduce our application by treating only the wetlands. So that's my opinion, because I do hear. Am I still on? Yes.
You are now.
Yes.
Okay.
Wade, you're
Yes.
an environmental kind of guy. What is your take on this topic?
Well, I worked in a town next to the Hockomock Swamp for many years, and Tripoli and West Nile virus was a common occurrence every summer. The way I understand it is that mosquito population starts in the wetlands and eventually starts growing and multiplying and gets into the human population, and that's where the virus ends up being a problem for the population. So the quicker you can knock down the population in the early spring, the better you're off. And you're right, Tom, they do use a bacteria component to knock out the larvae, so it's not a chemical approach. So I'm more pro-spray, just to knock out the population so it doesn't continually grow and multiply and start flowing into the human population. And then that's where we have to start spraying chemicals to knock down the mosquitoes. The viruses are coming in through the migration of birds. So the birds start spreading the virus to the mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes start carrying it. And then the females, for their blood meal, will go and get different mammals to for the next brood of eggs. So my opinion is spray.
Your opinion is to spray which
Spray
part?
all of them like you normally would.
Like
But
we
one thing
normally would.
that you normally would. But one thing though, in his second option, I think the gentleman wrote that it was unlikely that it would control Tripoli or West Nile virus. So I'm not sure what that was all about. So if the early spraying was going to unlikely protect anything with public health, then I would re-examine that and maybe not have that spray at all. Because I took that very surprising hearing from mosquito control people. Usually we need to spray to knock down the population early.
Well, that was option number one.
Now, one thing I did do in the other town I worked for, I did work with the mosquito control people. And the problem I had in that town was their testing sites. The closest testing site they had to a school was about a half a mile away. So when we ended up getting hot mosquitoes in that testing site, that was the last of our data that came into the office. So then you would want to have the area sprayed. And a lot of the public was getting upset about it because they didn't want their children to be exposed to the sprays during recreation. So I asked the mosquito control people to start having some of their testing sites next to the school compound. And they did. They actually put one inside the school compound and around it in the areas. And you have to do it secretly. They hide it because they don't want people to bother it and stuff. So by doing that, I had a better database for testing, and then I could control when spraying should occur and should not occur. So one thing the town may want to look at is maybe increase your testing sites and decrease your spraying, but increase your testing sites so you know when the viruses are actually in your community itself.
Well, yeah, that's sort of
That makes
beyond
sense.
this particular proposal here.
Well, it's a program, and you have to work with it each year.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm hearing I'm hearing two board members saying you don't like spraying.
Well,
I'm sorry.
But yeah, there's different connotations for that. I mean, certainly the idea of there was a time. I hate to sound like I've just been around town for the last century, but I have. There was a time in this town when we really had a major issue. It dealt with the fact that the Stony Brook folks really were on the warpath against stopping spraying. And there was a good reason for it, because back in those days, there were some pretty nasty pesticides that were out there. And they were knocking down bee populations, bird populations. It was a pretty broad spectrum pesticide that was used a lot, not only for adulticiding, which was malathion in those days, but also for larviciding as well. The biological controls came along quite a bit later. We, in fact, for a time in town, experimented with the idea of putting what are called top feeding minnows into all of the vernal pools and all the ponds and all the other wetland areas to try a totally biological control mechanism for the early spring population of mosquitoes. It worked for 1 year. The hope was that those minnows would winter over and they'd be there for next year and we would have another controlling medium. Well, except we had a dry summer and all the little ponds and wet spots dried out and all the minnows died. And so it was a one-off deal that we never reproduced. And we went back to joining the mosquito control project. And the people were vitriolic about wanting to have fewer mosquitoes in their backyards. So I've been a little bit influenced by that over the years. There are a lot of people in this town who like the idea of being able to not be engulfed by mosquitoes when they go outside in their yards. If they live in a town like this one, that's always going to happen a little bit. But they do like the idea of not having that first shot of mosquitoes flying around in May and June. So my inclination is to look at that and weigh that against the fact that at least this year, we do have a large population of young people who are not in school. They're going to be out during the daytime when those helicopters are flying around. And maybe it does make sense this year to ask the mosquito control people to stay away from residential areas and just go for the large open bodies of water, you know, the wetlands on the Stop River, for example, around the prisons, the big open spaces that are away from residential sites. I can see how that would make sense, but maybe restricted to just the larger bodies of water in the larger wetland areas. And for these small patches here and there with backyards surrounding them, I would say maybe not. But that's one person. This is a townwide decision that we're being asked to make. I really would like the idea of delaying a decision on this. We can take a vote tonight if we're inclined. I would like the selectmen to also have a chance to talk about this. And if it's possible to get it on your agenda for next week so that other people can also get involved in the conversation. So.
I guess I'm not clear. What did you say? We could take a vote on it or we could not and postpone?
We've been asked to respond to a letter. And I think we should respond as a board to the letter. Now, our response could be we don't have a response. I guess that's an option. Or we can say, all right, this is our inclination, but we would also like to hear from other people in town. And in particular, we'd like to hear from the selectmen who I think have all of these different perspectives to bring to the table besides simply public health and dealing with a problem like this.
Right back. 1 second. Sorry.
Well, what is the time frame? Betsy, I don't have the letter in front of me. What is the date that they need to know? We were talking about lava that's out there, and it's a warmer spring than it has been in years past. Already the forsythia is blooming and lots of trees are blooming that normally don't bloom until a month from now. So I'm guessing that a lot of these lava are out there at this point in time, ready to do what they're supposed to do, hatching.
They start their aerial larvicide program mid-April. So, How does the Norfolk County Mosquito Control Project work? Can we tell them we don't want it sprayed?
Well, they're asking us. I presume we can tell them.
They're looking for a consensus from all, from all of their 25 towns. So can we opt out? Do we have a choice?
It seemed like from the letter that we can choose one of the 3 options, either to continue with the regular program, to keep the program just for larger bodies of water, or not participate at all.
Yep.
It said, we seek your input as we work to plan for this project. Please indicate which scenario will best fit the current situation in your professional opinion.
So I guess I'm thinking that we don't have time unless the select board is meeting very soon.
Tuesday, right? When is your meeting?
Yes, this is Blythe. It's Tuesday. I didn't add it to the agenda, but if Kevin wants to weigh in, we could update the agenda on Monday and discuss it on Tuesday night.
You'd have to update your agenda tomorrow.
I think you can update it. I mean, I think we can update it on Monday. I think that will be okay.
But then to get back to us, or do we take a vote on this tonight?
I
And
think the board should take a vote tonight. This is our meeting to do it. I think by Monday or Tuesday, we're already pushing the envelope. I mean, these folks want to be spraying probably by the middle of the month. I mean,
Right.
keep in mind, they only can spray as long as there are no leaves in the trees. As soon as the leaves are out, then they can't spray larviciding, the larvicide they're using now. So they've got a very limited window to make a response.
So what you're using now is a granular application, correct? That goes just in the wetlands.
Are they using granular only these days? Because,
Just for the wetland application. It's,
okay,
I believe it's BTI. I don't know what the professional.
Bacillus thuringiensis, yeah, that's what they've been using for a while.
Mhm.
Well, if that's a granular, I guess they can try, that'll penetrate through the leaves at least.
but it won't be an
Reasonably well.
aerial spray either, will
Pardon
it?
me?
It's not a spray. It's done with helicopters.
Oh, it
And,
is.
and they treat just the wetland at this time. And then in the summertime, they start there, the one, early morning from the trucks, that's the spray.
Well, from the ground looking up at the helicopter, it looks like a spray, but it's actually a granular
Granular.
material that's coming out of there. With this material absorbed to it. So, what do you think, board members? Are you ready to vote on 1, 2, or 3?
Sure.
I am. Okay.
Is there a motion for 1, 2, or 3?
So do you want to just take an informal poll as to what, how everyone would,
Well, this is the board. I mean, we have a request to, what was the actual word they used? What's your position or something?
yeah, we seek your input.
Input. They'd like some input. So we're voting on input from the town of Norfolk. Whether it's going to have a direct effect on anything isn't even that clear right now. Although I would imagine they have the ability to direct the people who are doing this work to go to particular locations on their maps that may have been off limit, that may have been okay a year ago, but are not going to be okay this year. I'm assuming this was not just a survey for no particular action reason. I assume that they would like to know because there'd be a response as a result of their knowing.
So just so you know, the responses that I've seen from all of the other towns that have responded so far have been to proceed with their normal application schedule.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm surprised. Maybe we're just different. Anyway, would any board member like to take or propose
So
an option?
Sure, I would make a motion that we would go with option 2, that we would only, that they would only put this application down around large bodies of water and not around neighborhoods.
Right. So just to be clear, option 2 is to reduce our application by treating only larger wetlands that are not too close to neighborhoods. They went on to say the helicopters will be less likely in this scenario to alarm folks who might be home. Many folks may still be home in mid-April. So, and we can ramp up our notification as well when we know this is going to be happening.
Mm-hmm. All right, there is a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All
None.
those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have input from the board, which we can convey to the mosquito control project. At the same time, it would be very useful if a message is going out, let's say tomorrow, well, that'll be Monday probably, to let them know that we have also asked for our Board of Selectmen to opine on this particular topic as well.
I'll actually respond tonight. We'll send that
Great.
tonight.
Thank you, Betsy. All right. Well, those are the two, from my perspective, big topics that we had to talk about tonight.
Just wanted to let everyone know that our annual rabies clinic that was scheduled for Saturday, April 11th, has been canceled at the moment for obvious reasons. And depending on how things go and the need, we hope to reschedule it to either later this spring, this summer, or possibly even in the fall.
And if you need some help with that, let me know. If the veterinarian who normally does it can't manage it, let me know and I'll help Hillary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
Tom, while Blythe is still on the call, we were going to discuss a regional Board of Health director. And the board had met, I can't remember, back in summer, fall, and we talked about the possibility of regionalizing with Rentham and Plainville. And at the time, you were going to discuss with Rentham, with both of those towns, that possibility to get to, that we might have a part-time Board of Health director. And since then, there was a grant available for $50,000 to do a study. And I think my understanding was, I think we communicated and that Rentham had said that they would take the initiative on this and then follow up. I don't think there's any additional work being done on it, but maybe you could tell me if we need to go forward with this on our own or what. I don't know.
Sure. So I believe that Rentham did actually file the application for the study. But what I understood from Kevin Sweet, the administrator, was that the state was looking for something more robust than a small 3-town district. This topic also came up at the joint select board meeting of the Rentham, Plainville, and Norfolk boards last week about just service sharing, regionalization in general. And there was, I think, I would characterize it as positive response by the 3 members of the 3 boards to work on something like this together. So the ball is in the court of Kevin and Jen and I to get together and talk about how we might share the services, the nurses that Rentham has, and perhaps some of the staff that Plainville has amongst the 3 towns and see what that looks like. We've all been, unfortunately, just up to our eyeballs with the pandemic and haven't had a chance. But I'm gonna see them virtually next week at a MEC board meeting. So I'll talk about it. I mean, the other thing to consider is that right now we're trying to finalize the budget for FY21, and the budget, we've got it fairly well balanced at 2.4% or so. So adding right now would be a little challenging with, some residents already starting to look for, are we going to reduce the budget further? It might be that we can get the conversations going and we can frame something up perhaps for the fall town meeting when we have a better understanding of our financial picture and know what these other towns could offer us, if not in a district, at least individual intermunicipal agreements to perhaps add some capability in the area of public health nursing to support or something what we have. So I'm going to keep working on that with them and see what they have to offer. I think, unfortunately, this emergency that we're in right now has been very helpful to understanding what needs might be and can help us figure out where we might want to go from here. Thanks.
So just to offer some help for the future, advice, direction, I don't know. I know you mentioned the select boards are meeting with each other and the CEOs, but it's more than just public health nurses that a director for a board of health would be responsible for.
Sure.
So just to keep that in mind, there are a lot of other things, you know, education, tobacco, vaping, I don't know, just a whole host of things that we deal with that when you do get to that point, you're sitting down and talking specifically about that, maybe this board could be a part of that discussion with you. Okay.
I think it would be very important to have the board be a part of the discussion, because to have more than just my voice helping everyone understand what was really involved. I know the you know, Plainville's got some real financial struggles right now, and Rentham has a very high increase in their KP school budget that they're facing. So I don't want to say that they can't participate with us in this, but I need to understand where they are on that, and we can figure out how we can go forward.
Thank you.
I was going to ask Kevin, do you have any interest or comment on this, or is this a new topic for you? And I noticed you just put your camera back on, so I wasn't sure if you had something you wanted to add to the conversation.
Well, I didn't think you wanted to see me trying to wrangle 3 children running around and screaming. So that was more of an accommodation for you guys than for me.
Be entertainment.
That could be entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps everything lively.
Mhm.
You know, we've been talking about the consolidation of different services. Yeah. We've been talking about the consolidation and the regionalization of services with Plainville and Rentham for about 8 months now. We've been going through a range of different topics as they pertain to different services within each municipality and where there are some opportunities for us to consolidate cost. So we've been talking about this in a very high level general sense. I think once we start to get to the granular detail level, we've been kind of handing it off to Blythe, Kevin, and Jen from the respective towns to go through more of that coordination. So while we have been talking about it at a high level, I'm not very in tune with much of the details of the other conversations that have been going on. So pedestrian knowledge at best is how I would describe it.
Well, I really think this gives us an opportunity, sadly, with the pandemic to, you know, really look into this as something that would benefit everybody. So I personally think that this is a great opportunity to try to get this done, because I think it'll help everybody in the long run.
Okay. On the original agenda, we have MRC updates from Fran. Do we have any updates, Fran?
Well, just to let you know that we sent out through Betsy an email to all the MRC members to see if they were interested in helping out the Council on Aging Senior Center make telephone calls to individuals that were, you know, sheltering. If they just to say hello, and sometimes they might not hear another voice all day. So I think the list is still being put together, it's still being coordinated, and I think we're going to be in this for a while. So that's something that the MRC has offered its services for in the future. And as far as anything else happening, we continue to get emails every day that if people want to volunteer to go to other towns and help out, they just have to let Roberta, our coordinator for this region, just have to let her know. So that's pretty much, I think, Betsy, anything else? Everything else is on hold. Right
Did
now.
we get any kind of response from the email?
From the MRC, we have a list of people, MRC volunteers that are willing to make telephone calls. I'm just waiting on the staff from the Council on Aging to give us some direction. We would all be saying the same thing. We need a specific format, so that we would call. So we're just waiting on it, but we did offer our services.
Great.
Right. We've actually, as a result of that too, we've actually had more people reach out to me about joining the Medical Reserve Corps. So I've sent information on that. As far as people who want to register for our Norfolk Medical Reserve Corps can do so on MA Responds. And then we can also, we're able to do query checks either virtually or by email. I can do query checks for those. They've allowed that where we're not able to do any face-to-face verification on those query forms. So.
Well, that's really great to hear that people have been interested. I've been seeing some of the people are liking it on Facebook, seeing a couple of more people.
Once I have a little bit more time, hopefully soon, you know, we're going to try and do a little bit more, you know, public service announcements and try to get people more active in our Medical Reserve Corps.
Great. There's actually a Medical Reserve Corps meeting coming up on May 9th, which is still scheduled as far as I know, in Waltham.
I hope so, because I'd actually like to attend that. So.
I will be speaking at that.
I know, aren't you teaching the pet first aid course?
First aid, yeah.
I can't wait. Well, we'll see what happens.
On the PSA topic, the most recent DPH newsletter, they're coming like, you know, twice a day, it seems, mentioned the fact that the Red Cross has really got a serious blood shortage. Is there something we could put on our town website, or maybe there already is, to just remind people that there's a real problem right now?
Well, that might be something that maybe Blythe, we can include in our next letter, our next update.
Yep, sure, I can do that. I know that Libby was from the library was talking about having a blood drive soon. I asked her to connect with Matt just to make sure everyone understood what the obligations would be to, you know, clean the library if we were going to have an event like that. And I don't know where it ended up, but I can follow up on Monday. And I just also want to comment on the volunteers. The COA has moved into Town Hall. We've closed the building over there because it just wasn't worthwhile to keep it open for two people every day. And I stopped down to see her.
Are they downstairs?
Today. Yep, she's in the ground floor conference room, small one.
Okay.
And she is, I know she's working on volunteers and people who need phone calls and follow up. So I would connect with her on Monday as well.
Yeah, we actually sent Sherry, I compiled a list of our volunteers and, you know, names, email addresses, and sent that off to Sherry.
Great.
Okay. I think, we haven't talked about our catch and release signage yet. Do we have anything new on the topic of posting signs around the ponds in town?
Nope. Nope. Blythe,
No.
I don't think we need you anymore.
All right.
If you needed to go.
So we're taking the strictly Board of Health questions right now. So if
Well,
y'all
this is
wanna
the first
sign out
meeting I've
and
been to that got
take care of your
bombed.
kids,
So,
Kevin.
So at the last meeting, I had gone around town and taken pictures of the different bodies of water and parking areas and things that we could potentially post. So we had a little slideshow the last time as far as those areas.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, all right.
I sent it in an email to everybody. So there were some attachments with an email that were all the photos.
So I actually sent you guys some
Pictures of signs.
yeah, which I can actually put up as long as we don't get photo bombed again.
Yeah, that was fun.
So Betsy, I thought we were going to order 10 signs.
Yeah, but I need to know what you guys want. I'm not a
Specific
graphic designer.
Oh, come on, Betsy, you have multi skills.
Multiple talents that I'm not quite sure that is one of them. So give me a sec.
Well, a couple of them are straightforward. The Populatic Pond and the Child's River signs are straightforward. They look great. We just changed the names from other towns. Is that correct?
Hold on. Let me. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this was the, see that. This was the general one. Not very eye-catching. And some of the information doesn't apply to us because
Well,
we're
most of it doesn't. We probably
Right.
need to shorten that up a whole lot.
yeah, I don't think that would make a very attractive sign.
I agree.
So this is the one for Populatic Pond, which we can have actually that one made into a sign or two. I don't know how many places on the Populatic area there are to post.
There was the just that boat launch. Everything else looked like it was
Okay.
residential.
Okay. Then there's the one just like it with Charles River.
And there were a couple of places on River Road and I forget the other one where that was the Charles River.
Yep.
So that one's good.
And then I found this one. This is just something I found on online.
Is that similar to the other one? I can't see it very well.
It is actually. I think it's pretty much the same. So there's that, and then
Betsy, there's the plus sign at the bottom. Can you zoom in on it?
Yep. Thank you, Donna. I'll try. Yep. Sorry, it was just an image I copied and pasted, but I don't think it'll look.
It looks like exactly the other sign, except just it's all in red and black as opposed to the yellow color. But the stuff at the bottom says all other people, and then above that about children under 12 and pregnant women.
Mhm.
It looks like the exact same sign.
Right. I mean, we could do just a general one, and I'm not even opposed to the red if you guys, but something on that idea, just a general one for the places we have in Norfolk.
I think the one about the Child's River and the Populatic River is specific, talks about mercury, chlorine, and DDT. So I think those are great for those locations. This one, I think, would be great for all the other locations, as long as that's, I don't know what that small writing under the circle says. Can you?
It says fish contaminated with, it looks like DDT.
Oh yeah, I can actually zoom in on
PCBs, sorry. So it says fish contaminated with PCBs.
Okay, so we don't want to say that on, because we don't know what's in the water. So for like Bush Pond and all those other locations, we wouldn't want to put that verbiage. We just want to, the general information is what we want. No, do not eat any fish, catch and release, which is in the next piece of it, I think. I can't really tell what's on that.
And I can zoom in on it a little bit.
Yeah, you're.
So I need somebody to help me. I can't do this by myself.
Well, I think Fran had directions basically already. The things that have specific pollutants in them, we have to be careful about because we only have some data on some ponds. But for
And
the
I guess
generic-
I agree with you. And I also would agree, do we need the name of the body of water? Can we just make it all encompassing and just not have the name of the body of water that we're putting signage onto. And then I agree, maybe removing the specific contaminants and just give them a public health advisory not to eat fish because.
I really think the ones from the Charles River, these have been tested by the state.
Okay.
The water has been tested. They are already determined. You can go on to the Mass Department of Fisheries.
Yeah,
and
that's where I got those, actually.
Okay.
But this is real information, and I think it makes a difference that people can see, oh my gosh, there's mercury, chloridane, and DDT. I don't,
Okay.
you know, but if it hasn't been tested, then I don't think that we should use a sign that says something on it. So I can work with Betsy. I don't.
Right, so there's two signs. There's going to be the one that's specific to a site which has the pollutants in it, and there's only basically one of those, right? The Charles River and Populatic have been tested.
Right.
Data.
Right.
I was trying to think. I thought we had one other site that had some data.
Mill River?
Mill
I'll
River?
have to go back to, I would go back to the website, the fisheries website.
I've
Yeah,
got
I
it.
thought Eagle Brook or Mill River had something around City Mills. I thought there was something down that way too, which would include, well, that would include Bush Pond.
Would it? Yeah, I don't know.
That's Eagle Brook, right?
I think Eagle Brook feeds Bush Pond, which feeds Mill River,
Yeah.
coming
So
from
if
Franklin to Lawrence Street to City Mills.
there's a townie talking. Yes, that's exactly right. So I thought there was some data on that part of town, on that body of water or bodies of water.
I would have to go back and look.
Okay, all right.
Now, that's
So if
not
we
a
have
problem.
those two, then we need several other generic signs without the PCBs, but everything else. Without necessarily even names, just generic signs posted. They'll do some good, right?
Yeah, I hope so. And I've seen people fishing at the Charles River already. You know, that's what people are doing. They're getting out, and so I don't know if we can get these made and posted soon. That would be great.
You know where people like to fish is over on Highland Lake. There's a way you can get down to the lake. Try to remember the name of the road. But it is an area that in the summertime often has cars parked and fishermen out there. They probably don't eat anything. They're smart enough not to, but putting a sign in a place where you know there are people fishing would certainly be a good idea. And having multiple signs of the generic sort would make sense for the Lawrence Street Bridge and other places where we know there's likely to be some interest.
I had received the information about the bodies of water from the Conservation Commission. So they had labeled the street access where people tended to park and then the bodies of water. And that's where those photos came from.
Okay.
So that's why I did those, but I'm happy to take a look at Highland Lake too.
If it wasn't there, yeah, because that is a place I've seen people park.
And then the bait and tackles place also suggested that they would hang up a sign for us. So we could get one for them as well.
Okay, so I'll work with Betsy on how many signs based on the photos that you took with the locations, Eileen, and yeah, and I know that Stony Brook is looking for 3. They would take 3 signs because they have 3 locations where people can fish, and people do come and fish there, and sometimes they carry the fish away, I understand. So anyway, okay, so I'll work with Betsy on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Too, if you need it.
Yes, thank you. Because we might have to ask you for that, all of your photos that you took. I don't know if Betsy has those. is there any, is everything closed? Is DPW closed? I mean, they couldn't post the signs. Is that, what's that? Do you know, Betsy?
You know, they'll put them up for us.
But in this climate, would they do it? Right now, you know, with what's happening?
I haven't asked. I
Yeah.
haven't asked recently.
Okay.
I don't see why not. They're working.
Plenty of social distancing there.
Plenty
Sure.
of distance,
Sure.
really. Yeah, miles.
Trying to think. Oh, size. 18 by 24 is what I thought.
Oh, those are big.
Mm.
I think that's good.
I don't know if the Conservation Commission had one. I don't know if they still do. Hold on.
Hang on.
Oh, here she comes.
Iguan.
Awesome.
That's great.
That's
What-
the size. It's 18 by 24.
Mhm.
That looks great. Good.
And it's, if I order it from Mass Corps, the Department of Corrections, they're a little over $23 a piece.
So we have a budget that we could, if we needed 10 or 12 signs?
Yeah, I think we can swing it.
Okay, great.
Good.
All right, I'll be in touch next week. We're gonna
All right.
make something.
You
Are
can
there,
circle
are there,
me in if you want to.
Yeah.
Kevin said, apologies for the sudden departure. Thank you for letting me join and for everything you were doing to keep our community safe and informed during this difficult time. But I think he exited our meeting.
well,
And I had a couple of comments from Alyssa circling back to the COVID-19 issue.
is Alyssa still with us?
Yeah, yep, I'm here.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go. There you go. So we
Wow.
were talking about how does the board want to enforce? We're having a little bit of a time trying to get in touch with some of the COVID positive patients.
Yeah, so I had a situation over the weekend with a COVID positive individual. They were inpatient and the infection preventionist was not there and the nurses refused to provide me with any information. The patient hung up on me. So I was able to obtain the information. On Monday, I talked to the IP over there and obtained everything I needed, but I called the patient again to ask if I could have contact information. I wasn't able to even get the words out before the patient hung up on me.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are starting to get really angry. I did have to have the police involved in another case in another community. So I know that this could happen, and I just wanted to know how you guys wanted to proceed if it does.
Is it under the police purview to help you, assist you get in touch with these people, or who else would there be in the town to assist you to do that?
So basically, I mean, I have the individual's demographic information. And what I do if I cannot get in touch with somebody, I contact, or if they are unresponsive to my request and will not provide me with the information that I need. In my other communities, we've drafted a letter, but I believe the DPH came out with a letter today too. I mean, I would prefer not having to go to somebody's house without an escort. If it's, especially in a situation with somebody who's not responding to me. So that's what I've done in other communities. I've had police escorts.
Interesting. So there is jurisdiction for you to be in contact with these people that's prescribed by law. They have to
local boards of health can enforce by whatever means necessary to keep the community safe. And I can pull up that regulation. I have it somewhere in my email.
But the point is, you are enforcing essentially the law, and certainly a law officer can accompany you on that mission. So I would call upon, the police if you're concerned about your safety. If you know there's a person who does not want to be cooperating, we've done this in the past. With people who have just been uncooperative because, or for all kinds of reasons, we from time to time have actually had to have police escorts. So
Do you have to go through the Board of Health to request that, or can you do that on your own?
Again, in my other communities, I've talked to the Board of Health, and they've helped me with that.
But Betsy can certainly be the conduit, I would think, in terms of contacting, the police station and let them know that, hey, look, we need an escort for Alyssa to see this person.
Yeah, because I contacted Betsy. I don't even know what day it was at this point, but I said we may need a police escort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's important for our for our records to have that information that you didn't go by yourself. We want to be able to help, be there to support you, is what we're saying. So if you go through Betsy and then it's always on the record that the Board of Health is supporting you. Yeah, and whatever you need.
Okay.
I'm curious, do you have to see them, or are you just trying to get information from them?
Yes, I do need to see the individuals. When it comes to an individual being in isolation, there's all these different criteria that have to be met. If there's other people in the home, it's like with the timeline. So if you have somebody who's in isolation and there's not another bathroom, the individuals in quarantine need to restart their quarantine once that person is off of isolation. So it's really important that I talk to the individuals and kind of get a take on what the home is like. So when I discontinue their isolation, I know what to do with the other individuals that are in the home.
Thank you.
You can get started if you want. Get started if you want to.
Okay. So, Dr. Betsy.
Sure.
Other topics, old or new business, we need to talk about tonight?
I have one more thing.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Alyssa, go.
I just have one more thing. I know we haven't run into this situation yet, but there are individuals that in other communities that have requested supplies because whether it's, it's like, a couple days or 5 days until an Amazon order can be made. So I just wanted to know if we had anything to set up.
So we actually do have some volunteer groups that are helping to provide meals and things like that. So if you know of any families that are in need of some help, assistance, supplies, probably they could reach out to me and I can put them in touch. So
There was an article in the little Norfolk Rentham Times this week about some of those organizations in town. So there was some contact information in there as well. You're right, if they didn't necessarily want to maybe be public about it, and they used Betsy as a conduit, if they felt that they didn't want to contact those people on their own.
So if anybody needs to reach me, I'm available by email or office phone 508-528-7747.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, Alyssa, we have that stock room right behind Betsy's head that includes some ancient surgical masks and other things. Is there any value in them? Is there anybody who might find value in them? Because I'm feeling kind of bad about the fact they're just sitting there.
Yeah,
So I know for me, like when I use my N95, I don't have a lot, so I spray it down with alcohol and then I put it in a paper bag to save it for the next time that I have to use it.
Yep.
But I think, in the hospitals now, they're taking the N95s and then putting the surgical masks over it to try to
Also
keep it
pre-filter?
clean. Yeah. So, I mean, I know I would like one or a couple of the surgical masks.
We have boxes of them. We have probably hundreds of them.
Yeah,
They're
my
just-
fire department actually might need some as well, so I've reached out to the fire chief.
All right. Well, certainly.
I'd be more than happy to give you some, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Oh, did we need to talk about our meeting schedule at all?
Oh, I thought this was set. Do we have to,
Oh.
actually we have to continue or we have to set the meeting date now? Because right now it says we're supposed to be on the 28th of April.
Our regular scheduled meeting is scheduled for April 28th. Do you want to continue just trying to get back on our regular meeting schedule? I'm sure we'll have a lot.
Well, we've learned a few things tonight about how to run one of these in terms of keeping the riffraff.
Yeah, I'll have
at
another one.
bay.
I'll have a planning board meeting to run too, so
All right,
should hopefully be.
plenty of experience coming. Why don't we, for right now, leave the 28th on our list of nights we want to have a gathering. This will be after dinner.
Yeah, whatever time works for everybody else works for me.
Well, supper hour is kind of a sacred time for my stomach, so if we could do it either before or after, it'd be great. Do you want to go with 7 o'clock?
Eileen's still working.
Yeah.
That should, so we're trying to change our schedule a bit at work. So we might be working fewer but longer days. So I just have to figure out what we've talked about before I can commit to 7, although I can probably do it. I might just be at work and I'll just stay there and do it from work. So 7 should probably be okay.
Okay, we'll keep it as a regularly scheduled day and time.
Meaning the third Tuesday, meaning what's on this agenda, right? April 28th. Okay.
Just an observation that the 28th is the 4th Tuesday.
Yeah.
It was, I think it had, I forget what it had to do with, but I think, yeah, I'm not sure why we ended up there, but it had something to do with some other meetings that were.
April vacation, maybe.
It's very possible.
Oh yeah,
That's probably what it was. You're probably right, Donna.
right. I think the selectman was scheduled. Well, is scheduled to meet on the 21st. I think that's why we pushed it to the 28th, but doesn't really matter. But let's just keep it on the 28th.
Yes.
Sure.
Actually, I was going to ask Wade before we sign off. Do you have anything you wanted to bring up, Wade?
Yes. No, not at this time, but thank you though.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll get around to those regulations next time.
All right. Do
We
your
said that
homework.
more than
Sounds
once, I
good.
realize.
I appreciate it.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I just talk about two more things quickly? Just really quickly.
Quickly.
I promise. Just
Okay, as
because
long as you're quick.
it was correspondence, and I just want you to know what it's about. Because most of the correspondence was not, I just read it, wasn't terribly important, but I just thought you should know about 2 things. One had to do with the tobacco regulation, the new tobacco regulations, and that there are additional signage that has to be posted. Betsy actually, they came with the letter. So I don't know if those signs are posted. It's really the responsibility of the vendors to go on to the DPH website and print out the signs, but we could do it as a courtesy, Betsy. I don't know if you've had a chance, probably not. Do you know what I'm talking about? No.
Sort of, but I'm not.
Yeah. So when I return the correspondence to you, then maybe we can send out these additional signs that they have to post, just so you all know that there is additional signage based on the new vaping regulations. And then the last thing had to do with the fact that we did receive, the Norfolk Department of Health has been awarded a total sum of $3,250 funding from the Mass Department of Public Health, and this was, we use this to fund our Citizens Alert. Is that correct, Betsy?
Correct.
I just wanted to let you know that came in on January 28th.
So just wanted to let you guys know too, I applied for a COVID-19 grant from Mass Health Officers Association. So we were, and I think I may have emailed you, we were awarded $4,688. I believe we are also eligible for another allotment of the same amount, very specific what we can use it for. It's changing a little bit, but it's, you know, to provide additional nursing services for case, you know, tracking, follow-up, etc. So we've got that money as well. So
Yes, we forgot to ask Alyssa at this time. Does she need any additional help to track cases or whatever she has to
put
do?
out an email today to Alyssa to forward to the director, Elaine over at the WALPA visiting nurse, to see how we can go about, you know, what are our needs for the future and what we're going to need for funding. So that was just today. Haven't talked to her.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, just wanted to let you guys know that I am working remotely now on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I'm available by email, checking voicemail a couple times a day. So, but I've been working in the office and will continue to do so as long as we can on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So you guys don't do like a log me in type of thing? So I can work from home by logging into my desktop at work. Do they let you do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Good. Good.
Yep, Wade's continuing to do, you know, inspections as normal as we can on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yep, that's correct.
So I'm just wondering, so we can be prepared for the next meeting, as far as these regulations that Wade has worked so hard on. If we have just individual questions, we can email him with our individual questions if the conversation is just between the two of us, correct? Wade?
I would say yes.
Okay, so you might be getting some emails from me.
Oh, absolutely, please. I enjoy them.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Not a problem.
All right then. Is there a motion
Right.
to adjourn?
Well, the second half of the meeting went way better than the first, so.
That was weird. I have nothing else to do but join a Board of Health meeting and be disruptive. So
Yeah.
yes, I will make a motion to adjourn, although Betsy had a question for you on a completely different subject, but while I have you online after we adjourn, I just wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
All right. And there is a second?
I second the motion to adjourn the meeting, Board of
All
Health
right.
meeting, April 2nd.
All right. It is 7:22. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.